Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Kevin, and I have been playing the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card game for about a year and a half now locally at Tier 0 Gaming in Goldsboro, North Carolina. As you can see here, I'll be presenting a Dark Magician deck profile, specifically Regenesis Dark Magician. This past Friday, I placed 5th in a 4-round tournament with about 12 participants. My record was 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. And let's get straight into the profile. Starting us off, we have 2 copies of Dark Magician and 1 copy of Dark Magician Girl. They're the only bricks I'm running, if you want to call them that. From there, we've got 3 Magician Souls and 2 Magician's Rod. These are your starters, your openers, and your searchers. They'll search Magician Souls will search these 3. Magician's Rod will search all of my Dark Magician spells and traps. And to follow up, 2 copies of Illusion of Chaos. Most times I've run 3, other people run 3. In this particular build I'm running 2 because this is a 50 card deck, which we'll get into the rest of that here in a sec. Illusion of Chaos, of course, searches all of these, actually. Generally, I found myself generally searching Magician's Souls or Magician's Rod to go into some of the combos that I wanted to do. And I'll explain those later in the video. For spells and traps, we've got Soul Servant to search basically our entire Dark Magician deck. 3 copies of Secrets of Dark Magic to allow us to fuse into any of our Dark Magician fusions during the opponent's turn, because the Regenesis cards, if they're sent to the grave during the opponent's turn, that end phase, they come right back to our hand. And I'll explain what I like to do with those cards here once I get into that part of the deck. 1 copy of Dark Magical Circle, 1 copy of our field spell, Magician Salvation, and 2 copies of Eternal Soul. In the past, I've run just 1 because you don't really need more than 1, but in a 50 or even a 60 card build, I like having 2. A primary one to search off a Salvation, and a second one as a backup in case the first one goes away. Alright, that was the Dark Magician side of things. Here is the Regenesis. With Regenesis, I started. This is just the starting point of the build. I wanted to see what I could do and come up with these cards and this deck combined with Dark Magician. So this is just a starting point. Moving forward, I'll probably do different ratios, but I do run all of the cards, starting with 3 copies of Regenesis Archfiend. Archfiend can special summon himself from the hand by revealing another card in hand that has 2500 attack or defense. So any of the Regenesis monsters and Dark Magician. And he is the primary searcher, so he can search any of the Regenesis cards from deck to hand. From there, I'm running 2 copies each of Dragon, Warrior, and Sage. After I bring out Archfiend, I like to immediately search Sage because Sage is the Omni-Negate of the archetype. Warrior sends back monsters from the field to the hand, or extra deck if they're an extra deck monster. And Dragon will banish a spell and trap card. Warrior and Dragon tribute themselves for cost. Sage will tribute any face-up Regenesis card on your side of the board for cost. From there, I have 2 copies of Regenesis Birth. This lets you send, during your opponent's turn, you flip it face up, send any Regenesis monster from deck to the graveyard, and then you can flip one of your opponent's monsters face down, stopping their plays right then and there. 2 copies of Regenesis Code. In the event that I don't open Archfiend alongside one of my other Regenesis names or Dark Magician, I will start with Regenesis Code to special summon Archfiend straight from the deck, thus enabling my Regenesis combos. And the Regenesis normal spell. This allows me to add a Regenesis card, monster specifically, from deck to hand. That's how I used it primarily on this last Friday, the 13th actually. So the way I would use this is, if I had Archfiend in hand and nothing else along with the normal spell, I'd play the normal spell, search one of these guys, then reveal him to special summon Archfiend. And one copy of the big boss, Regenesis Lord. He came up probably twice in a 4-round tournament, and he did come in handy. His big effect is he gains 2,500 attack and defense during the battle phase. And in order to get him on board, you banish one of these guys to special summon. Alright, on to the extra deck. In the extra deck, I run a standard package of Dark Magician fusions, starting with Dragoon, the Dark Magicians, Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, Dark Cavalry, and Dark Magician the Knight of Dragon Magic. And the way I get into these guys is by fusing Dark Magician with Regenesis Dragon, Regenesis Sage, or any of my other Dark Magician spellcasters. Regenesis Dragon, I can fuse into him with Regenesis Warrior, and fuse into him with either Dragon or Warrior. And what I like to do there is Dark Magician on board or in hand, Secrets of Dark Magic. I'll set Secrets and say Dragon is either on board or in hand. During the opponent's turn, I'll flip Secrets, fuse these two away to bring out Dragoon or Dark Magician the Dragon Knight or Dark Magician Knight of Dragon Magic. And they have their effects on board: piercing damage plus burn, Omni Negate plus destruction. Regenesis Dragon is now in the grave during my opponent's turn. So during their end phase, this comes back to hand, so I can use them all over again in the next turn. That was the idea and the reason why I run 3 copies of Secrets of Dark Magic. For the rest of the extra deck, I am running Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon and number 11 Big Eye. Because of the abundance of level 7s in this deck, it's real easy to get into either of these. Flare Metal Dragon is a pseudo time card because every time your opponent activates an effect, they have to pay 500 life points. And Big Eye lets you take control of one of their monsters on summon. One Chaos Angel, and I bring him out by synchroing Dark Magician and Magician's Rod. Both dark, so he only gets his dark effect. Dark Magician is level 7, Rod is level 3. Now that's who I normally use to go into Angel, but again, the abundance of level 7s in this deck lets you get into Angel real easily, provided you have another level 3. From there, the Link package, one relinquished animal. During the tournament, he didn't come up, mainly because the only way I can get into Anima is with my Magician's Soul. And Magician's Soul was generally used for its effect to send Dark Magician to the grave to special summon it from the grave, at which point this goes away. I very rarely special summon this card to get into Anima, but it's an option. From there, Artemis, the Magistess of Moon Maiden. Really, she's just a warm body. Again, one of my standard opening plays is normal summon Rod and link into Artemis, so that when I activate one of my face downs during my opponent's turn, I contribute Artemis and add Rod back to hand. That's my go-to with Artemis. From there, 2 Link 2s, IP Masquerena and SP Little Knight, because they are staples for the meta and they come in handy. IP never came up this particular Friday. She has in the past, and I'm sure she will in the future. So she'll stay, and then IP is an easy way to get into SP Little Knight during the opponent's turn, which is pretty cool. One Celine, Queen of the Master Magicians, and she's there primarily to link climb into Access Code Talker. Again, These are staples of the meta, at least in my deck, and that's pretty cool. Last card in the extra deck, one of my favorites, Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. Simply because he's cool and I like him. On to the side deck that I ran for this particular tournament. Bond between teacher and student, and then 2 copies of the Dark Burning Magic. With these cards, if Dark Magician is on board, I can special summon Dark Magician, go straight from the deck, and then set Dark Burning Magic directly from the deck, enabling a complete board wipe of my opponent's board during the next turn. 2 copies of Triple Tactic Thrust and 1 copies of Triple Tactic Talent, just in case the opponent wants to get, interrupt my plays. I can search or draw or take my opponent's monsters from their board. 2 copies of Dark Hole, 2 copies of Lightning Storm, 1 Raigeki, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, and 3 copies of Evenly Matched. So this side deck is designed to be a complete smokescreen. I can take out the complete Regenesis core from my deck, with the exception of Dragon. I like to keep Dragon in there so I can still go into Dragoon. And essentially, game 2, going second, play a blind going second, board breaker Dark Magician deck. That's how that works. You can also take out any other cards like Hand Traps. Speaking of Hand Traps and non-engine, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, 3 copies of Ash Blossom Joyous Spring, 1 Called by the Grave for opponent interruption, and a card that didn't come up at all on Friday, but I want to keep because it just works really well, because the majority of my monsters are 2500 attack or defense. Dragon's Mind. It's a counter trap that will negate and destroy during the opponent's turn. Well, guys, that is it for my deck profile. Thanks for watching. If there's something you'd like to suggest, maybe even try out this deck on your own at your own locals, great, let me know. Comment below. If you like this kind of video, let me know. I'll definitely do some more deck profiles. I have recently come off of playing Chimera Fusion, and I have also used the Shining Sarcophagus deck and the Winged Dragon of Ra. I like playing the Winged Dragon of Ra primarily with the 3 Knights of Face. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Thank you.